Monday on Judge John Deed.
He broke into my daughter's room at college.
An ex-con is out for revenge, and Deed is caught in the trap.
Coward. You should be in prison for life.
He said you tried to choke him, Sir John.
I wanted to break his neck.
Judge John Deed.
If you out there, I'll kill you.
Monday at 8:30 on BBC One.
It was the most devastating terrorist attack the world has ever seen. Now a major investigation reveals how the attackers escaped detection as they planned their deadly mission across 3 continents.
Several of these people had been tracked until they got inside the United States, and then they were lost in our own country.
We always had a big problem convincing the West how dangerous these people could be.
Towards the 0 hour, a panorama special, Wednesday at 9 on BBC One.
In Touch through the night, now on BBC One with BBC News 24.
So the areas were typical, but the extent of the losses were more than we expected, more than we certainly hoped for.
Recession began in March, according to the U.S. government, and since then, more than 1 million Americans have lost their jobs. Employment numbers are a lagging indicator, and even if recovery does come in 2002, many officials believe there is more bad news about jobs on the horizon.
Our economic infrastructures suffered a severe jolt on September 11th. And we are going to see, I think, a couple of more months possibly of disappointing numbers.
A lot of the people who first lost their jobs were .com employees, many of them university graduates. That led some to say this might be a different sort of recession. But by now, the U.S. economy has shed enough jobs that virtually every industry has been affected.
Robert Reich was the labor secretary under President Clinton.
A lot of young, rapidly rising professionals found themselves suddenly out of work. But now the recession is spreading downward to middle-class, blue-collar, working-class people who are finding in all sorts of service occupations, hotel, retail, restaurant, even in many health-related occupations, they no longer can count on their jobs. And that spreading out of the recession is causing a kind of reverberation through the economy in terms of consumers not being willing to go to the malls and buy.
After this latest jobs report, the hope now is that the 11th rate cut of the year is now a certainty at next week's Federal Reserve meeting on interest rates, and that may finally do the trick to help the U.S. economy turn the corner. Kate Noble, BBC News.
It's only apocryphal, but you do notice at like professional yuppie events, people trading stories about people they know who've lost their jobs. Mind you, the cross-current swirl, you should consider the stock market up for the week. And in fact, the University of Michigan released its read on the mood of consumers for the months of December, and the gauge is better than expected. Also, you had the chip makers, Intel and AMD, its rival, issuing kind of bullish comments saying that their sales for the quarter we're in are at the higher end of expectations. Add it all together, that was a day, though, for investors to look at the gains there have been. This is the opportunity to look at the scene on the balcony of the New York Stock Exchange commemorating the events at this time in 1941. Bang up to date with these numbers. The Dow's down 0.5%, 10,049 points, clinging to that benchmark. The Nasdaq's down 33, hovering above its own.
Workers at the Bank of France have been called to strike by their unions for one day on December 14th. It's the day on which the French central bank will start selling starter packs of the new euro coins so that French people become familiar with them before they hit the streets as legal tender. But these disruptions could set the country as a whole one step back on the path to embracing Europe's single currency.
Some 18,000 workers could be involved if next Friday's industrial action by French central bank workers goes ahead. The unions are demanding to talk to management on issues related to the euro changeover, particularly working conditions. But it spells more trouble for the European single currency, and that's the last thing the region's central bankers need. Already, workers are making themselves heard. This week, a few hundred Bank of France staff responsible for introducing euros went on a 2-day strike. And a national strike for France's entire banking industry is planned for January the 2nd. Euro notes and coins have been filtered into bank branches, big retailers and small shops across the Eurozone since September. And the single European currency is due to enter general circulation in its cash form from January the 1st, 2002. But for France, the disruptions could put the whole euro distribution process a whole month behind schedule, leaving the country to play catch-up.
A nervous weekend is beginning for Argentina's economy minister, Domingo Cavallo. He's been in Washington for emergency talks with officials at the International Monetary Fund. Earlier this week, the IMF refused to release a $1.2 billion loan, pushing the country, in the eyes of Argentinians, closer to the brink of bankruptcy. In a move to raise funds, the government has forced private pension funds to buy $2.3 billion of new debt, and it will use that money to pay government salaries.
You've heard about the cashless society. This is not how it was meant to look. Downtown Buenos Aires at lunchtime, and angry bank customers are told which queue they need